Welcome to the Eddie Lam Show. We dedicate this podcast to interviewing musicians of every kind, as well as online content creators on social media. Whether if they're starting out or if they're already on the rise and still growing, this show is all about having a fun conversation with our guests, talking about their favorite things that relate to their passion for their projects. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let's have that conversation. It's not always easy trying to start a new life in a different country, especially if your goal is to get your name out there as a musician. Our guest for this episode traveled from his home country of Ireland all the way to Vancouver, BC, Canada. Jason Kealy, also known as the Small Lebowski, not only started playing at open mics around town, but also ended up becoming an open mic host. We'll be talking about his experience of hosting, including pros and cons. We'll also chat about his favorite mainstream and local Vancouver artists, including his love for metal and prog rock. All right, folks, I'm in the studio here with a musician who was originally from Ireland, but is now relocated right here in Vancouver, BC. You may know him as Mr. Jason Kealy, but of course, for those who've seen him around the music scene and on the social media sites, we also know him as the Small Lebowski. Jason, welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for coming down. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Eddie. Thank you for having me.
Anytime, man. So we got to talk about you as a musician here, coming from Ireland, and then you came here to Vancouver, started a brand new life here. How long have you been in Vancouver now?
Almost 2 years. I came over in 2022 in July and have been just finding my way ever since.
What I find very fascinating was that, I met you through the open mic circle. Actually, it's about a year ago. You and a bunch of others were playing at the Granville Island open mic, hosted by Emily and that whole gang. And it was a really cool concept to have it at that theater, the comedy theater, or one of the comedy theaters there. And we got a chance to meet a whole bunch of not just a whole bunch of cool, talented people, but it's almost like a new generation of Vancouver talent that just started coming out of nowhere ever since the pandemic. But what were your thoughts when you first started playing the open mic circle in Vancouver?
It was a bit overwhelming at first, although I did go to a few before I really found my place. I was at a couple of very quiet ones in downtown, like Donnellan's right on Granville Street. And there was only about 2 or 3 people there. But weirdly enough, that's where I met Sean from the Yukon, who I ended up meeting again at the Container Brewing open mic. And then from there, I just met everyone and started busking and stuff like that as well. So I was constantly just meeting other musicians.
And let's go back to your history here before you even came to Vancouver. So your time as a musician in Ireland, when did you first start playing music live in front of people? And what motivated you to just keep going?
Okay, that's an interesting one. So I first started performing when I was around 12, just doing karaoke when I was on holidays with my family, which I'm a bit embarrassed about now looking back, because I'd be in like dive bars singing Green Day and stuff as a 12-year-old at like 12 at night. But from there on, I went to learn the guitar, and I started busking around age 14 in Galway, and I realized that because I was small and I had a loud voice as well for a small wee teenager, and I was rocking out and stuff by AC/DC and Green Day and Led Zeppelin and stuff like that, that I got a bit of interest out of it, and some other people around my age wanted to play and busk with me. So that got me moving forward, and then through school I performed at school concerts and a couple of musicals, stuff like that. And I did a lot of years of busking back home in Galway, but busking other people's songs and not my own, not for a good number of years. And that branched out into playing with the metal band for 2 years in Ireland as well, recording an EP with them as well. And that was right up into the pandemic.
And with you playing metal and heavy rock in general, I mean, the fun thing was when you and I first met at the open mic last year, the first time I saw you, you were playing Pearl Jam. And that's when I knew, wow, this guy has the same line of music taste as I do in terms of playing all these amazing grunge hits, our love for bands like Alice in Chains, bands like Nirvana, and like you mentioned Green Day earlier too, right? And I think that's just really neat that you and I shared that same interest, especially when we play these songs at the open mics, whether you do one or I do one Alice in Chains song, we always seem to sing along together every time, and I think that's really fascinating. When did you started being interested in these bands, especially these Seattle grunge people?
Well, it all started around 14 or 15. I got introduced to Nirvana and Alice in Chains. But growing up, my older brothers always had a lot of the 90s stuff, not just Seattle, but like a lot of White Zombie and stuff like, of course, Soundgarden and maybe Metallica, Megadeth, stuff like that. But yeah, the Seattle stuff around 14 or 15, and then I just got madly in love with Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, and I realized through practicing my singing and stuff like that I could maybe imitate certain sounds by them, and then I ended up covering a lot of stuff by them as well.
What do you think is the most challenging song that you've ever learned within that genre?
Trying to learn stuff by Blind Melon. Honestly, I find certain stuff like Toes Across the Floor, maybe the song Walk by Blind Melon, and what's the name of the song? Yeah, there's a few more that I found very challenging to play and sing along to, and maybe some stuff by Soundgarden as well, like just the time signatures and the weird tunings they use, and even Chris Cornell's voice are just absolutely impossible to imitate.
I even find that when it comes to time signatures from Soundgarden songs like obviously Outshined, Fell on Black Days, right? It's always so confusing with it. It's not 4/4, right? And even the little halfway bit for Black Hole Sun, the instrumental break. That's like 7/4, 5/4, somewhere around there, I believe. But I understand how you feel when it comes to trying to cover all the Chris Cornell tunes too. Whereas versus Audioslave, that's just a walk in the park for for most of it, right? And you were saying Blind Melon. I mean, that's the thing, because even if you try to sing their hit song "No Rain," it's it's fun to sing it, but to really knock it out the park, it must be a different challenge. But what I really liked about what you do, though, when you do Pearl Jam, when you do Alice in Chains, or any other covers you and I know very well, you have your own flair to the way you sing it, and I think it's really awesome. So it goes to my next question. When did you start learning how to sing?
Around 10 or 11, I'd say, but I pretty much just kept going by my own. As I learned to play guitar, I learned to sing as well by singing along to stuff, but I started doing minor singing lessons when I was around 14 or 15. I used to go to like a music camp every year in the summer, and they'd give us like vocal lessons, and we'd learn a lot of old rock songs and just jam out on the guitar and stuff like that, as well as these singing lessons and learning like minor drum things. I mean, I was never a drummer, but we'd be banging away on a kit or banging away on a djembe and stuff like that. But yeah, that's when I started to kind of hone my voice a little bit, and I feel like just through maybe practicing breathing techniques as well while I'm playing, and just through general performing, I try to hone my skills that way.
That's awesome. And I'm going to assume that you must be very familiar with the music scene out in your hometown. And if that was your thing too, going to the open mic circle, how do you feel it's different versus how it is in Vancouver?
It's different. There's definitely a lot of talent, but maybe not as many open mics, at least from my understanding. But I was so involved in the metal scene back home for a while that there was a long time I didn't go to any open mics in Galway, which I regret. But I started going a lot before I came over, and there was one really prominent one in a classic Irish pub called Roisin Dove, which is named after a Thin Lizzy song, Black Rose.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Which I used to go there, and I found there was a lot of talent, some of which are over here. This is a little shout out for Crazed Galway, who we all know, Mr. Daniel Clark. You'll love that. Right, yeah. But yeah, I find that there's definitely more variety over here and a lot more people coming in and out. But in Galway, we did get a lot of different varieties. We had some people from the States and people from other counties coming in and out every week. And it's definitely more of a close-knit community, I suppose. Everyone over there is very close and they're all part of the same circles and all that.
And I think what we all appreciate about Mr. Daniel Clark was, just the stuff that he sings and raps about is just all, it's just all good laughs. And I think that's the thing we've been kind of missing, the first thing that came to mind when I first met him, I was just like, man, this guy's quite a character. And I'm just like, I can see myself hanging out with this dude. And just the fact that he and I have very similar sense of humor in some ways and pop culture references, it's like we understood each other. It's like the three of us, every time when we talk about things like, pro wrestling or, our favorite TV shows, right? And it's just like, wow, we get along so well. I think we should hang out more often. So are you thinking about collaborating with Mr. Daniel in the future?
Maybe if he's up for it, or maybe sometime when we're both in Galway or both together over here. I do play with him a lot through open mics and stuff like that, but I'd like to hear him maybe do a freestyle or maybe do some more songs about fast food. I mean, he always does a song about kebabs, but he doesn't have one about McDonald's or the Ireland classic fast food chain Supermax, which would be great. But yeah, I'd be interested if he wants to.
I think he could be like our culinary MC, just rapping about your favorite food, or this is how you cook the latest recipe. I don't know, it's just something like that. So now you have a brand new life here in Vancouver. So fast forward to that. I know that your metal roots are still within you, and I think that's amazing. With myself as a metalhead too, I give you so much props for that, because I feel like our town still needs to have that cool angsty music that we can all mosh to, right? Have you ever thought about starting a metal band here in Vancouver?
Oh, I'd love to at some point, but I have so much equipment yet to buy still, and I think I'd rather take a vocal stance and maybe bass if I were to play an instrument for playing with the metal band. But I definitely would be interested. Yeah, I do go to a lot of metal shows, like prog metal shows, maybe more hardcore orientated ones like Better Lovers or Cancer Bats. I just love heavy music and experimental music in general, so maybe in the future when I can get my head out of my ass and maybe start playing electric again, that would be great.
You talk about experimental, outside the box styled metal. I mean, I've seen you wear the T-shirt of the band Faith No More, and of course we know Mike had the other group, Mr. Bungle, right? We all know that, and we know some really amazing bands that were influenced by their style. I mean, obviously you and I know System of a Down is one of those many bands that has that kind of outside the box style. So Mr. Bungle, do you have a favorite track from those guys?
Oh, from Mr. Bungle, I'd have to say Goodbye Sober Day, Egg, Stub a Dub, or Retro Vertigo, Pink Cigarette. Pink Cigarette's an amazing track. Mm-hmm. And there's just so much going on with them, how they mix all these different styles like circus music with thrash metal and Middle Eastern influences, electronic stuff like that, and just weird time signatures. I love that. Anything like that.
I remember like going through that moment too where I was listening to Mr. Bungle, and then I had another friend that also showed me those other like progressive rock bands too, like from the 70s. There was one called Gentle Giant, which I'm sure you must have heard of. No, you haven't. Okay, so I will show you Gentle Giant stuff too. It's stuff from the 70s, but really outside the box stuff, and I think you might enjoy it too. So yeah. Now, prog rock, obviously, Canada, you being in Canada, I guess you of course you're not surprised everybody is, or most people who are into that kind of music love bands like Rush, Right. Yeah, so you love Rush. And when you first heard Rush's tunes, let's say, Tom Sawyer, Working Man, YYZ, what was your first impression when you first heard Rush's music?
Well, the first song I heard was Spirit of Radio, which I think is the first one everyone heard. And the first thing I thought was, wow, Journey really ripped this one off with Don't Stop Believing. They sound like such similar tunes, but I started to dig into their discography a little bit, and I heard stuff like 2112, which is 20-minute track. It's got like 5 parts. It's heavy, it's acoustic, it's got ripping solos, changing time signatures. I just thought they were amazing. So I got quite obsessed, especially with their earlier stuff. I can't say I've dug into all their albums, which is a bit shameful, but they do have like 19 albums. I've definitely gotten through 10 or 11 of them.
Rest in peace to the late, great Neil Peart, who we unfortunately lost in early 2020 before the pandemic happened. Do you think he's probably one of the best drummers ever, not just in Canada, but just like the best ever?
100%, yeah. I love watching his videos and his solos. Remember the day he died, I was listening to Rush religiously. I think I listened to like Vital Signs about 7 times after I heard that news, which is my favorite song by them, and like Natural Science, stuff like that. Yeah, he was incredible, even as a lyricist. And how he took his own life experiences and put it into the music, as well as writing all these crazy songs about history books and mythology and legend and all that, pulled right out of his own library. It was great. He was a genius in every sense of the word.
I think we all had that same reaction too. Like, at least for me, when I saw that Time Stand Still was written by him too. It's one of my favorite Rush songs. I see that it's written by Neil Peart. Now when you look back at that and you see the writing credit again, and you see his name on it, now you can't help but tear up, just because this is a genius of a song that he wrote. Well, one of many songs, of course. But like I said, with him as a lyricist, I think we can't deny the fact that he's done so much for Rush. Well, not just for Rush, but just for putting Canadian music on a map. That, I mean, it can be arguable, of course, but if you've, I don't know, like, I really wish I had seen Rush live in concert. I got some friends who have, and just to see how they are. But I mean, you can see their videos online, of course, right? But when you see that, it's like, man, I wish I could be there, right, in person. What are your thoughts about the other members of Rush, like Alex and Geddy?
Oh, they're great. I love them. I actually went to see Eddie Lam do his book interviews and podcast a few months ago in Vancouver, and I went with another regular open micer who is, of course, Sam Amadi, Night Splitter, who you guys should check out if you haven't already. Just a quick call out there. But yeah, that was awesome. I was very interested, and especially his history with his family history and how they like survived the horrors of World War II and moved to Canada, and then he grew up in that background, and he was very inspired to play music, and even some Rush songs are written about those experiences of his family. And Alex Lifeson, of course, great guitarist. Don't know a whole lot about him otherwise. He was great in Trailer Park Boys. Yeah. When they kidnapped him, and that was very funny. And they're like, play that Diane Sawyer song.
I always feel like it's like you've made it when you've made an appearance on Trailer Park Boys. All these great shows. I mean, just like that final scene where they all saw Rush live in concert. I'm just like, I remember the first thing that came to mind. I'm just like, man, they must have spent a huge budget to get Rush on this episode. Yeah. Right. Lyricism, we were just talking about Neil Peart being a great songwriter, but let's talk about your songwriting styles. Obviously, like, I've seen you play your own music at the open mic nights, specifically at Container Brewing, which is, again, a really cool moment to see that. We always have so much fun playing our favorite covers, right? But then when it comes to original songs, it's quite the treat, And so when did you first discover that you had this interest in writing songs?
Maybe in 2019, just diddling away on little things on my guitar and maybe writing stuff down throughout the years, little journal entries and just little notes on things I see. But things never really came together for me as a songwriter. I didn't really start writing in whole songs until I moved to Vancouver, really. And maybe once I quit my job, I wrote a few songs, and then I was like, okay, I'm moving to Vancouver in a couple of weeks, and I just got very inspired, and I started writing about everything on my way over and everything regarding the move and trying to find my way over here, and just inspired by a lot of things that had happened back home, like just seeing just events transpire where other people went away, losing friends, seeing people pass away, and just in general, the whole shock of moving to another country on my own just got me to like cope with it in different ways. So I started just noodling a lot more on my guitar and just writing a lot more notes, putting things together, trying them out at open mics.
And let's talk about open mics. For those who don't know, Jason here is also an open mic host, but not only that, he's a very solid open mic host too. And he hosts currently right now, as of June 2024, he's been hosting open mics on Sundays at Container Brewing in East Vancouver. And it's a really cool little spot. So let's dig deep into this. Your duty as an open mic host, okay? I mean, you and I, we've always used to, just being the ones that just go there and play and that's it. But then, eventually, you and I, we've worked into the role now where, like you've hosted open mics. I've hosted my own musical shindigs as well over the years. So I want to get your perspective as an open mic host. What has been some of the most amazing successes you've had so far, and what were some of the challenges, or still some of the challenges that you see that can happen with hosts, which people may not know about?
Oh, there's definitely things, challenges. Sometimes people aren't prepared, and you have to kind of work around your time zones to get everyone set up and going. That sometimes might take 10 or 15 minutes. Trying to get people to get along. Sometimes people don't like each other at these events, so kind of get them distracted or introduce them to various people so no one's rowing with each other. Main problem we always have is sometimes missing equipment or things go missing. Stuff like that. I enjoy hosting it very much as well. I find it's a great way to talk to different people and learn about people, and it's good for me as well as someone who kind of gets a bit shy in large social situations, because people come up to me to talk to me about the open mic. But yeah, it's great, and it's great to meet so many different people through it, and it's a great experience. And doing the live sound is always a major challenge for me, because that was something I kind of landed into rather than expressly trained on or got a lot of experience with before. I was just shadowing previous hosts and helping them out, and then it came time they needed someone to cover, so I stuck up and learned on the spot and through YouTube tutorials.
Right on. I agree with you with the challenges about, dealing with different personalities that may clash in a not so pleasant way. And I get it too, because you want, we all know that it's Disney thinking, but we all want everyone to get along with each other really well and create that community. But of course, sometimes, egos clash, right? And that can be a huge thing, because, after all, we are musicians, who want to make a name for ourselves. What advice would you give to up and coming open mic hosts who want to get their hands dirty in this whole experience of hosting?
Ooh. So from my experience, the best you can do is keep showing up to them and show interest. Show interest in what's going on at other events, and how they're setting up the sound and who's doing it and how they're talking with people and stuff like that. And the best thing you can be as a host is friendly and just get to know people and hang out with people. Like, there's so many people I've met through these open mics as a host who I didn't know before, and end up hanging out with them almost weekly and just becoming very good friends with them, sending each other memes and stuff like that. Yeah. It's good to give everyone a chance to, like, we're obviously not all going to like everyone's style of music, but it's good to be fair with everyone and give everyone a chance, and just talk to people, collab a little bit where you can, and show interest.
Speaking of showing interest, let's talk about who your favorite locals are so far. Because obviously we have that cool circle of friends from the open mic nights who we've met along the last couple of years. We started going to their shows, or even whenever they host any kind of shindig, like an open mic of their own, we show up to it. Who do you want to give a shout out to?
Oh, there's too many good artists around, but I'd have to give a shout out to a few who have also become very special to me as people over the last couple of years, and whose music I really enjoy. So I'd have to give a shout out to Frankie and the Lost Souls, Night Splitter, Silent Threads, who are of course Danny O'Brady and Sam Amadi. Acoustic Eel is another one. Atlan Morgan, Charlotte Legee, of course you, Eddie. You get a shout, Eddie Lam. Listen, Eddie Lam.
Thank you.
Crazed Galway, but only because he'll kill me if I don't say his name several times. He's probably watching us from a bush here.
We also got to give a special shout out to our friend who, of course, is back in China for now, Summer Liu. She was a part of our scene for a while last year, and it was cool to get to know her musical taste as well. And it was just nice, for her, when we gave her that send off gathering, right? It was just like, wow, we didn't know her for too long, but apparently, when we were all gathering just to hang out with her, to say our last goodbyes, that really means a lot in a way, the fact that, we impacted her life somehow. You played a huge role, and of course, all the other artists that you've mentioned, they played such a huge role in her life as well.
I'd like to think that. That gig we had for Summer's Going Away party was really cool. We all did a few songs. Yeah, it's crazy to think we make an impact like that on people. I never think of it until it's time to say goodbye to someone, and then I suppose you really know how someone feels about you when you're leaving them, right? Yeah. But it's definitely very special to me. I also want to make a quick shout out to Sean from the Yukon, who I forgot to mention at the last question. Yeah. It's the reason I have an open mic job.
Thank you, Sean. And I mean, we all know that Sean's been killing it hosting the Batch Open Mic Nights. And of course, he also co-hosts with you, rotates at Container Brewery sometimes, right? And it's really cool to see a different variety. When you first met someone, like Sean, the minute you start seeing him play, especially when he does his Coldplay covers, we're just like, man, this dude can really sing. And not only that, I mean, of course it's pretty, debatable, but I like the way he sings it. I mean, no diss on Chris Martin, obviously, right? But when Sean sings Coldplay songs, it's like a different realm, basically. So we gotta do this to bring a smile to Sean's face. What is it that you like about Sean's playing and his hosting skills?
Oh, he's a good character. He's got a great voice. He's fun. He hangs out with everyone, and he's much more appealing to me than Chris Martin and Coldplay, I gotta be honest. But I'll probably get in trouble for that. You know what? I always get in trouble for slagging Coldplay, but I'm not really a Coldplay fan. Sorry, guys.
I know. I'm pretty sure Chris can take it. I know I hear he's a very nice guy in real life. Thank goodness, right? But yeah, but yeah, props to Sean from the Yukon, obviously. For just being a good influence to open mic hosts such as yourself, and that he's helped you now gain so much more experience as a host at Container Brewing, which is great. let's talk about that local scene. You know, we've mentioned everyone too, like Alan Morgan, Frankie and Lost Souls, and Acoustic Eel. You know, Elisa. Hey guys, shout out to you guys, by the way. Night Splitter, same to you guys. Hello. What is your impression of all these amazing, talented stars here in the local Vancouver scene?
Oh, they're awesome. There's so much diversity and great playing. There's even another friend of mine who always impresses me with the style is Josh Lyard, who goes by the name Jody Sharrow, I think. But his style, he always pulls out like a fiddle, and then he'll pull out a guitar, or pull out a bass, or he'll pull out a penny whistle or a saxophone or something new every week, harmonica and all that. Someone like Acoustic Eel, her music is very relaxing and always gets everyone, not just myself, into a certain headspace. Sam Amadi is like absolute genius. That's Night Splitter. He's just writes crazy music and crazy chords and crazy picking styles that I just can't even fathom. I'm always very impressed by that. And but like Alan Morgan always take you into a certain zone. I always say to Alan that her songs remind me of like James Bond theme songs, which for me is like the highest of compliments, because I absolutely freaking love James Bond music.
Going to James Bond, what is your favorite opening theme song from any era of James Bond?
Oh, that's a very tough one. Diamonds Are Forever. I can't just go with one. Diamonds Are Forever. Casino Royale with Chris Cornell, obviously.
Oh, yeah. You Know My Name?
Yeah, Goldfinger, Thunderball, and if I had to pick one more. I like the Duran Duran one a lot, to be honest, but don't tell anyone. Oh, I'm on a podcast, actually. I just told everyone. But yeah, really like that View to a Kill, I think it was. Was that Duran Duran?
I think so, yeah. I think I can add to your to list if you want to listen to it. I mean, my personal favorite was Tomorrow Never Dies from Sheryl Crow. And there's that one that Jack White did with Alicia Keys.
Oh, I forget the name of it. That one was good. I forget the name. Damn, it was good. That was Quantum of Solace, wasn't it?
That's right, Quantum of Solace. Yes, you're correct. Yeah, but yeah, we'll look it up on Google and we'll figure out the title. And we'll be like, oh, that's the name of the title. So, now let's talk about that realm too. Soundtracks. Like, you must have that love for not just James Bond theme songs, like you mentioned too, right? Has there been any other like movie or TV or video game soundtracks that you fell in love with?
Oh, absolutely. The theme music from Fargo, the TV series and the movie, 100%. Fistful of Dollars and all the spaghetti westerns of Clint Eastwood, fantastic soundtracks. Might get in trouble for mentioning this one, and you all shouldn't watch it, but Cannibal Holocaust has an amazing theme song and soundtrack. It's a very gory movie, though, guys. Don't subject yourselves to that if you're not expecting it. Maybe one more. Drive. Theme for Drive.
Yeah. And you were mentioning Fargo. I mean, apparently you have a taste for dark humor. I think, I myself do as well. A little bit of that. But when exploring movies in general, I mean, we all know music plays such a huge role in our favorite soundtracks. Why do you feel that music is the driving force to movies?
I don't know. It always gets me in the mood, and there's certain ones, like anything from Ennio Morricone. It just really paints a picture of the landscape, even as much as the cinematography does, if that makes sense. But Fargo, the theme for that, like the TV show, it always starts off dark and haunting, and then it kind of gets more upbeat as shenanigans start to go down, and that's one thing I really appreciate about it.
If you had the opportunity to compose for any movie franchise or TV franchise, whichever one it may be, or a video game franchise, which one would it be?
Oh my god, I'm on the spot with that one. I'm trying to think. I'm so excited. Maybe something Western orientated, because maybe I could get away with my music there, or my acoustic music. Something like that. Get me on Red Dead Redemption 3, or at least give me a couple of songs, because I was in love with the soundtrack of that, even though that's not really a movie, but it's as close to a movie as you get these days, I suppose, within a video game.
It's a video game with a very fantastic storyline.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is, right?
All folk music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Now, speaking of composing, and now let's go back to our local scene here again in Vancouver. If you had the opportunity to collaborate with anyone from our open mic friends, who would it be?
Ooh. I've never proposed this, but I would actually like to play a song with Atlin Morgan sometime, because I have a few I've been working on that I think she could add some great vocals to. Mm-hmm. You're laughing. Did she say that too? No. No, I just really like Atlin's music, and I think she's a very strong voice. I do sometimes jam out with Charlotte LeGee and Acoustic Eel as well, a couple of times busking and just jamming out outside of open mics, which has been nice. So maybe in future I would like to record some stuff with them.
What about Night Splitter? Would you ever collaborate with those guys?
I'd absolutely love to, even just for like a track or something, but those guys are just so good musically. I don't know how I could even keep up, but I could give it a go, maybe.
Personally, I can see you fit in with those guys really well.
Oh yeah, I used to play bass in a technical death metal band, so maybe I could keep up if I practice and get to know their songs. It'd definitely be a bit of a challenge, but I think I can manage it. If they'd have me sometime.
Personally, I could picture you and Sam from Night Splitter do maybe a Tool tribute band as a possibility. I mean, what do you think?
I love Tool's music, but I don't really like their singer that much, which I'm probably going to get crucified for. I do like some of his stuff, but maybe a Devin Townsend tribute band.
That's a great idea, honestly.
I feel like 90% of my conversations with other dev heads, as we'll say, are pretty much about Devin Townsend all the time.
I mean, let's be real about this too then. I mean, would you be, let's say if money was not an issue, would you be willing to go see Devin at a festival?
Oh yeah, 100%.
And how about this? Your dream concert. Okay, so let's say you now you got a full band behind you, right? You got a touring bus and all that stuff, right? Now let's say you want to travel to a destination where you want to play your ultimate concert. Do you have a preferred venue in mind?
Ooh, I don't know. I have low hopes, but I'd like to play a few good dive bars. But maybe the Royal Albert Hall would be like my dream venue. And it was like where I also saw one of my favorite concerts, which was like Devin Townsend, Vola, and Leprous 2 nights in a row at the Royal Albert Hall. But maybe I don't know. I'm just thinking of like Pink Floyd style, maybe Pompeii, the amphitheater.
Yeah, kind of do it how like Roger Waters' Wall is, that nice fancy setup and everything.
Oh, that would be so cool. Oh, don't give me that sort of creative authority. I'd have all sorts of stupid things like giant dragons coming down from the ceiling and shoot them with like a bazooka or something, and they spray out candy foam.
There's like pyrotechnics everywhere.
Yeah. Pyrotechnics, fireworks, giant robots.
I hope you guys are taking down notes because this could become an amazing reality down the road somewhere in the future. So with you being in the Vancouver music scene for quite some time now, obviously, like you said, we've met some amazing talent here in this town, right? And we mentioned everyone that you want to collaborate with and everything. Let's maybe rock the boat just a little bit. What kind of constructive feedback? If it was up to you, how would you improve our town's music scene? Is there any kind of ideas that you feel that we need more of, or maybe something we should bring back? What do you have?
What we always need is more people collaborating, I think. A lot of people are so good at doing things on their own, but we can really come up with something special when you get several musicians together. And that being said, I've made barely any effort to do that in the last couple of years because I've been trying to bring myself up as my own artist and writing my own tunes and stuff like that. But I find some of the most magical moments I've had playing my own music and covers and having jams and stuff like that. We're always collaborating with people through busking and maybe after parties and stuff like that, house sessions. Yeah, collaboration is key and something I'm also guilty of not doing, but always listen to feedback, I suppose, if it's beneficial. But if it's someone telling you what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and if someone's trying to silence you, do not listen to them. Do your thing. Have fun.
Would you also be open to the idea of even, let's say, playing other instruments with other people as, say, even if you're not a permanent member, let's say you're a hired gun for the day, you can do bass with one group, you can do drums for another group, or maybe you can do backup singing for another group?
Oh, yeah. I did play a couple of gigs last year where I backed up a band on bass. Actually, one gig, sorry, my bad. One gig with one band where I backed up the crew on bass. And, of course, in my old band back in Galway, I was playing bass duties in that and just background, moshing away, hanging with the crowd, stuff like that. So, yeah, it's something I really enjoy, but I do play bass more recreationally these days, not to play with anyone. And then when I'm performing, I'm mostly just trying to get my own stuff out at the moment. But in future, I would like to play bass and do some vocals with a metal band or a prog band or an experimental rock band or something.
We talked about Kealy as a bassist and everything like that, right? Because we all we like Rush, right? Obviously, but do you have any other favorite bass players? Maybe do you have maybe besides that, is there any specific albums that you've heard where you're just like, man, the bass tones are just so phenomenal?
Oh yeah, I could talk for hours about this. We have opened a portal to the underworld.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, that's it. Trevor Dunn, Mr. Bungle, first Mr. Bungle album, the bass lines in that are unbelievable. Sixth, James Leach, he also plays with Devin Townsend. And there's that album, The Trees Are Dead and Dried Out, Wait for Something Wild. His bass lines on that are just absolutely phenomenal. It's kind of more metalcore or mathcore style. Les Claypool, he's just ridiculous. Les Claypool, Primus, Claypool, Lennon, Delirium, Oysterhead. He's ridiculous. I've heard the Primus album, Sailing the Seas of Cheese, and the bass lines on that just blew my mind.
We gotta give props to Les Claypool because obviously without him writing the theme from South Park, he wouldn't be a gazillionaire for all those royalties for writing that. Have you ever attempted his tracks on bass from Primus, like My Name Is Mud, or any other tracks from that album?
A couple, but I never stuck the gun. Toys Go Winding Down is one I used to love jamming out on from Frizzle Fry. American Life from Sailing the Seas of Cheese. My Name Is Mud, of course. Electric Uncle Sam, another one. And maybe, what was that song? Lacquerhead. Yeah.
Here's a challenge for you. Well, I guess a challenge for both of us because since we both play bass, man, how about Jerry was a race car driver?
Oh my god, I always get intimidated even watching videos of him playing that. It's just crazy. I could try learn a very slow waltzy version of it maybe.
It's gonna take us an attorney to figure out the notes for the beginning riff of it.
Yeah, I would need AI for that.
Oh man. What about your thoughts on all the other bass players, that are pretty well known, especially who've impacted the '90s music? Let's say Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
He's insane. He's so good. I'm trying to think of other ones I love. Jason Newsted and Cliff Burton, Rob Trujillo, of course, all from Metallica. Yeah, Flea's great. I love. I always get a bit of smack for this too, but I'm more of a fan of like early and 90s Chili Peppers than anything they've done since then. But his bass playing, especially in the track Nobody Weird Like Me, incredible. Just knocks me out with that stuff.
And have you ever got the chance to read Anthony Kiedis' autobiography?
I have not actually, but it was sitting at my parents' house for years because both my brothers read it, and I've been told to.
So let's talk about Cliff Burton and Jason Newsted and just Metallica in general. You know, like you and I, we both shared that same common bond of our love for Metallica's music. Of course, for me, minus a few that I wasn't a big fan of. I won't say. I mean, everyone knows the obvious one from 20 years ago, 2003, which I won't say the name because, But minus that, I mean, Cliff Burton as a bassist, and also, of course, a great lyricist too. Maybe not too many people would associate that with bass players, right? But with him and playing for, and you hear how he plays in from Kill 'Em All to Master of Puppets, 3 solid albums, right? And what thought comes to mind when it comes to Cliff Burton? I mean, besides him as a bassist.
Ooh, excellent composer. Absolute shredder. Did a lot of stuff that people never expected to see on a bass. And I never really saw many interviews with him or any of him talking. He kind of just put his money where his mouth was. He was an excellent composer. He wrote a lot of their best stuff and their best compositions. And I wonder, like, if he hadn't died, he probably would have went on to do so much great stuff. Probably would have brought them a lot farther than they went with that album that we do not name from 20 years ago about a certain patron saint of angry men.
That's true. And I mean, who knew? I mean, who knows what could have happened with, say, Justice, Black Album, and so on and so forth too, right? But Jason Newsted came into the picture afterwards, right? It's still pretty solid basis, at least in my personal opinion too. I mean, like I said, we won't name that certain album. But what about your thoughts on Justice, Black Album, Load, Reload, etc.?
Great. Never got too into Reload. I like a couple of songs off it. Load is amazing. I like that album a lot, especially as a fan of 90s alt rock. Black Album, incredible. One of the first albums I ever bought. Blew my mind, still does. I like it almost as much as Justice for All in the first 3 albums. Load, I love. I could never get into it start to finish. I love a lot of tracks on it, but it doesn't stay in the same regard as like their first few albums for me. But Bleeding Me, one of my favorite songs ever.
Right on. If you had the opportunity to play a Metallica song at the open mic nights, just going back in full circle here again, which song would you pick that you think people from the open mic scene would probably most likely enjoy?
Ooh, maybe not that they'd enjoy. I did do Unforgiven once. Sometimes when it gets to the end of the night and people are still there and they haven't closed down the bar yet, I do start jamming out Harvester of Sorrow. Or like maybe Master of Puppets, which is kind of an easy pick, but it's a fun song. Bleeding Me is one I would like to cover at some point. Nothing Else Matters, great song, but I feel like it's probably overdone. But Bleeding Me, I'd love to play that one.
I think if it were up to me too, if I would, because knowing that I like to get sing-alongs happening too, right? I guess my choice would probably be The Memory Remains from Reload. Because that part where fortune, fame, and then get the crowd goes, but the memory remains,
I'd love to hear you play that.
Oh, yeah. Challenge accepted. Maybe I'll give that a go one day.
Container brewing.
Yeah, exactly.
There on Sundays.
Yeah, that's right. Where do you see yourself in the Vancouver music scene, let's say 3 to 5 years from now?
Oh, hopefully playing more gigs. Hopefully with an album under my belt. I am trying to record things, so working on that slowly and surely. More gigs, maybe another open mic, and definitely, a couple of albums. But it feels like it's so hard to make it in this city, so it's like,
Yeah.
I'm happy to continue staying low key and just playing my songs at open mics, the odd show, and busking. I want to do some busking and maybe some recording for people as well in future once I get a better setup.
So I got one more question to wrap up this session. Well, first of all, thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
Hell yeah. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So with you as yourself who came to Vancouver from another country just 2 years ago, we are starting to see an increase of people coming into this town from other parts of, not just from other countries, but just from other provinces, other districts in general. What advice would you give to these new folks who are brand new, either starting out or restarting themselves because they're in a new part of town now? What advice would you give them in general?
In general, go to a lot of public events. Try not to only stick to people from where you're from. It's a good way to get off your feet at the start, and it's good to maintain connections, but try not to stay solely around people from back home. It's a great chance to grow, so get out of your comfort zone is what I would say, and that's what I did. When I got over here, I didn't know anyone, but slowly and surely through going to events and just going to gigs and walking around and talking to random people and stuff like that, I got to know a big, lovely crew of like-minded musical people, which is great. But yeah, get out of your comfort zone and try and push yourself, even though it is scary, and I know it's scary. It was scary for me, and there's definitely times where it's a lot to try and leave your house and to get out of your own space or your own head, but yeah, push yourself.
And we'll be here to cheer you guys on too.
Exactly.
We'll be your support team. So there you go. Go team. Anyway, so Jason, thank you so much, man. And I really appreciate you, again, taking the time just to share your stories, your our common interest for the same music we listen to, which is amazing, right? As always. How can people find you online or in person?
Online, you can find me on Instagram under the username The Small Lebowski, which is also the name of my SoundCloud account, which is where I'm currently uploading my demos, and there are a lot more to come. I'm learning as I go with regards to recording. So the recordings are getting slightly better with each one. You can find my music there, and through various open mics around Vancouver. Trees open mic, Batch open mic, the Honey Brew open mic, Container Brewing open mic, Morrissey open mic, and Anza open mic, and Wild Eye. I feel like I'm forgetting one, but we're always forgetting one.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot more. It's just that there's some that are farther parts from the area here. So, yeah, but we'll make a trek there one day.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jason. And you guys heard correctly. So the Small Lebowski, make sure you give Jason a follow on Instagram. Send him a DM. Say hi, especially if you're from the Vancouver music scene. He would love to connect with you. We would all love to connect with you. So, again, as he says, if you are new to the music scene, come to the open mic nights that we all hang out at. It's a very encouraging environment. At least we do the best we can. And let us know when you have shows coming up too. If you're doing your first show, maybe it's your first album release party. Jason and I, we always believe in the community aspect of the music scene, and so let us know when you have an album out on Spotify. Let us know if, you are going to have your first music video. Or let us know if you want us to be in your music video too. Right, Jason?
Yeah, absolutely. The most important part of it all is community for me, I think, as well. As Eddie said, it's important for us all to hang out and get to know each other. And the most important thing is we're all having a good time and enjoying ourselves.
Yes, amen to that, man. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and make sure to have a great day, and make sure you make your days awesome. And again, make sure you follow the Small Lebowski. Jason is an amazing, talented musician, great guy overall, so make sure you say hi to him. All right, guys, we will see you again next time. We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Eddie Lam Show, a podcast dedicated to interviewing musicians and online content creators of every kind. If you would like to be a guest on the program, feel free to send me an email at eddielammusic@gmail.com. That's EDDIELAM music@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out my website at eddielammusic.ca. That's EDDIELAMmusic.ca. You can also follow me on social media. Username is Eddie Lam Music. That's EDDIELAM Music on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning into our program. In the meantime, stay in touch, stay safe, and as always, stay awesome.